Mike Vrabel is going to miss day 3 of the NFL draft. That's Saturday when they do the 3rd through 7 rounds, 3 through 7, or 4 through 7. I'm sorry, 4 through 7 rounds. He's going to miss it because of the Diana Rossini affair. He is taking an indefinite leave of absence from the New England Patriots starting Saturday. He'll be there for tonight. He'll be there for Friday. But on Saturday, he's taking a indefinite leave of absence, and he's missing the last day of the draft. Mike Vrabel is in some real hot water, not just with his wife, but when you start missing days of the draft, you get in trouble with your employer. The seriousness of his mishap and its impact on the football team. And I know he tried to keep it in a little box. We talked about this yesterday. Hey, this is personal and private. Well, it's no longer personal and private. It is now impacting your ability to do your job. I'm not saying this to chastise and scold Mike Vrabel. I'm saying it to talk about how serious this issue is. This isn't just some little private thing between two consenting adults. It has impacted Mike Vrabel's ability to do his job. And all the people that said, hey, there's a double standard. There are no consequences here for Mike Vrabel. And I said, no. There's consequences. And his wife is going to establish those consequences. And she clearly has. Like, in order to save this marriage, you have to stop what you're doing and come take care of me, these two young sons we have that are, I believe, 24 and 25 years old. You have to stop, and they're taking a family trip to Massachusetts to do some therapy and counseling. And next week, when the Patriots are back at work with their off-season program that started this week, there's a chance Mike Vrabel won't be there. This is impacting his job. This is major and serious. I want to read to you the statement Mike Vrabel put out to ESPN. As I said the other day, I promised my family, this organization, and this team that I was going to give them the best version of me that I can possibly give them. In order to do so, I have committed to seeking counseling starting this weekend. This is something that I have given a lot of thought to, and it's something I would advise a player to do if I was counseling them. I have always wanted to lead by example, and I believe this is what I have to do to be the best husband, father, and coach that I possibly can be. This is not an easy thing for me to admit, but it is one that I know will make me a better person. I appreciate the support that everyone has given me and promise a stronger resolve as a result. TJ Moe and Dre Baldwin will join me right now. TJ obviously had a cup of coffee with the New England Patriots. TJ is married and the father of 3, with I think a 4th on the way. Dre married, a father of 1, former professional basketball player overseas. Gentlemen, and I'll start with you, TJ. You've got the closest connection to the Patriots, and you a father. What do you think of Mike Vrabel's decision to leave indefinitely and the impact this will have on his career moving forward?
It's a good question, and we've been very critical on this show for guys continuing on in their profession and not putting their family first. Tom Brady went through it, and we hammered him for that. And he lost his family, and was a stupid decision. So I am always 100% of the time for a guy going to prioritize his family, even if it costs him his job, because who cares about your job? I don't care anything about. If I'm him today, and it's I can continue being the head coach of the Patriots and try to chase a Super Bowl, maybe I'll even win one. Or I can keep the love of my life and my kids from hating me and start repairing that. I'm leaving. I'm out right away. So what the Patriots think of that, if I'm Vrabel, is totally irrelevant. That you have one priority. You made a catastrophic mistake that may alter your entire life. And so if the Patriots decide to let him go, Okay, great. Sorry. The day that I slept with this woman, that was a potential consequence. May lose my job. I got plenty of money. That I already screwed that up. Now I'm not screwing it up any further by trying to go fix my family. I potentially lost my job the day I made that decision. That ship has sailed. And so the only advice I would give him is that, boy, you better find the right counselor, because counseling is mostly left-wing women who just beat down conservative men, and it's an awful industry. And so there are very few good counselors. Find a Christian counselor, find somebody who actually believes in the patriarchy and the legitimate order of how things are supposed to go. You know, I don't go out there and just do what. There's a right and a wrong way to handle this.
I agree, but the other thing, TJ, he's probably surrendered his ability to call the shots here. I believe his wife now has the con. And so if we were in Crimson Tide,
Nope.
TJ.
You never lose it. You never lose it, Jason. You don't. You never lose it. If you want to have, because here's what can happen, okay?
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen with close friends of mine, that you start going down the route of, I screwed up, now everything's changed. You're in charge. It's over anyway, okay? Even if you save it, it's still over. If suddenly you've lost the patriarchy and you've lost your ability to say, look, I screwed up and let's do this the right way. Let's agree on it. Do you agree we want to save this family? I agree. I screwed up. I'll take full responsibility. But the second you say, no, you're in charge, even though we've done it this way forever, and this is the biblical way to go about it, it's already done anyway.
Listen, I hear you what Mike Vrabel's instincts are. But, okay, I'll move away from Crimson Tide and go to Captain Phillips. He now has a Somalian in. I'm the captain now. That's what Jen, I believe, is her name. I'm the captain now. Saturday, we'll be in Massachusetts doing counseling. I don't care about the NFL draft.
That might be okay. Look, to the degree that she says, I would like to do some counseling, I'd like to work on this, but you don't just tuck your tail and get abused either, right? So there is a right and a wrong way to handle it. You've already screwed up. Do not further screw up by saying, never mind, I'm no longer a man, because that makes it worse. So I'm just telling you that you can make it worse, even as you pursue.
There's no question. There's no, everything you're saying is accurate. This system is designed, though, to turn over all the power to her, because if they head to divorce court, whatever the money is, she's going to get half of it. Whatever the house is, she's going to get all of it. And he can afford that. And, the kids are 24 and 20. They're out of school. She has a lot of leverage, and the whole court system and just the whole culture hands the power over to her. And if I hope that he's as strong as you're talking about, and he stands his ground. But to me, the first indicator is he's missing day 3 of the NFL draft. I think if he were in charge, they would leave for counseling on Sunday.
Yeah, maybe that's true. There's also you can be in charge and say, hey, I'm going to demonstrate for you that you're more important than this job. And that is me being in charge. And that this was my thing to show you. And I've already actually demonstrated to you that you weren't as important as you thought you were. I screwed that up. And now I'm going to show you that you are more important, far more important than this job. That would be potentially up to him, not up to her. Especially, look, it's like what he's saying is, you're more important than my 4th rounder, but not my 3rd. Okay. So I'm just telling you, the Saturday, it's good. Also, this isn't like Belichick where he was the GM too. I don't know how this is year 2 with the Patriots.
Yeah.
Does the GM handle all this anyway and kind of get some input? And they're coming off a good year. Like, is it the end of the world? And again, you know what really is the end of the world? Losing your wife and kids. And so you already made the decision, man. You've screwed it up. So now whatever happens after that is just you trying to save your wife and kids while you continue the biblical approach and say, we're going to do this the right way. Listen, you married me, Mike Vrabel, because I'm a man, okay? So to the degree that you want to stay with me, I need to continue to be a man. If I tuck my tail, you're not going to want me in a year anyway, Okay, so how about this? Let's recommit to this, and I'll continue being a man and promise not to do that anymore, and we'll keep some good tabs on that.
Yeah, Dre, I'm gonna bring you into this, let you referee the early part of this, and then whatever original thoughts you want to have, add those. But if I was Mike Vrabel, I would consult with Travion Henderson on what to do, and maybe Travion can walk him through some passages in the Bible. But anyway, Dre, your thoughts on what me and TJ have been discussing, and any new things you want to inject into the conversation.
No, this is definitely priority structure under pressure because Vrabel's under pressure now. He came out and has basically said, without saying it, that what we saw in those photos was what we thought it was. And I do believe that his wife has put the pressure on him, and she has the leverage right now, as you said, Jason, because if she leaves, his stability, his foundation cracks. And it's hard to lead men if you don't have a stable foundation at home. And that's what's under threat right now. The fact that the Patriots went to the Super Bowl, he had a good season last year, I think gives him some leeway in terms of going to the bosses and saying, hey, I need to take this time off and miss one of the most important parts of the year, which is picking, basically Bill Parcells language, picking the groceries that I'm going to be cooking with. He's given a leverage to walk away from that temporarily because his team is doing well. So overall, I will disagree with TJ in that he can't be the man right now because of the leverage that he doesn't have. And the situation that he's going to, he said he's going to counseling. It might not even be counseling. It might just be his wife saying, listen, if you don't drop everything and come spend time with me right now, then you're going to lose everything because I'm going to leave. I'm going to take you to court and you know how that goes. It doesn't even really have anything to do with who the counselor is. It may not even be a counselor. It might just be staying home with me for a week and let's just figure this out. Now, his kids are in their early 20s, as you said. They may even be out of the home. So I don't think the kids may have that much to do with it right now. I think he just wants to keep his relationship, keep that at-home stability so that he can do the job that he needs to do. There's a reason why leaders of men usually have a solid home environment with a woman there because the bosses know this guy doesn't have other distractions when he gets off from work. So that's what's under threat right now. And Mike Vrabel just needs to stabilize that with his wife, regardless of how they're doing it.
Well, according to ESPN, the two sons are going with them to Massachusetts. So this is an all hands on deck situation, one. But let's walk through the potential ramifications. Like, he started out the week, hey, this is a private, personal matter. He said at the beginning of his press conference and at the end. It's a 2.5-minute statement. He emphasizes those 2 points. Well, now that you're missing the draft and potentially going to miss some of the offseason workout program that the players will be attending next week, I think it enhances the potential locker room problem. I think maybe it creates an opportunity to humble yourself in front of these guys, to show them how to handle adversity and stress, and maybe it strengthens his connection with the team, but it also could hurt and weaken. He has created a major distraction. He's now being absent. How do you think the locker room dynamics will be affected by this?
Well, in the sports world, we know that winning cures all. So if they go out there and win, he'll be all right. At the same time, a football locker room is different than, let's say, a basketball locker room because you are talking 4 or 5 times as many people. So you have the people who are out there just dating. They're not trying to get married. They're never going to get married. They may have baby mamas and multiple children by different women. To them, what Mike Vrabel did is not even worth discussing. Then you have men who are family men who came up in structured family conservative environments. They're looking at him a little bit side-eyed, and he has to figure out how do I position myself for those men. I think those are the ones that he needs to maybe sell himself to more. And then, of course, you have his running back who he kind of came out and chastised, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, with what he said when the guy came out and supported Jaden Ivey. So in a football locker room, you have a lot more people. So he has to figure out, how do I stabilize my position in the eyes of these different factions in the locker room? It depends on who it is, though. I don't think they're all looking at him the same way.
TJ, you've been in the Patriots locker room. How do you think this plays in the locker room?
Every locker room is different, man. It's because I've not been in the locker room with these guys, and I would say it's it's most about the leadership in the Patriots locker room. How are the leaders handling it, and everybody else will follow that. I have no idea how these leaders are handling it. I know that these guys are coming off a Super Bowl, and so they want to get back to a Super Bowl and are likely to try to hold it together as long as possible. And so my guess is they're going to be as open and respectful as they can to try to get it to work. But, I've been in a locker room where things were falling apart, slightly different. But Gary Pinkel got a DUI when I was there and got suspended for a game. And holy crap, did our guy, because he had to miss senior night, and our seniors lost their mind. And so even with decent leadership, when things happen, obviously the little bit apples to oranges, that's in the middle of the season, and coach actually had to miss a game and all that. But people fall apart quick. And there one player, I won't say his name, but I remember him dog cussing any and everybody that he saw up and down the locker room and the whole building when Coach Pinkel was going to miss his senior night. And so there's just a lot to it. What do they think of Vrabel? Vrabel seems like a guy that gets along with all the players. So if he has a great relationship with them in the first place, this would probably be a lot different if it were Belichick, where it's already like, I don't like that guy, but we win. It's like, do they like this guy? It seems like they do. It seems to be a big difference between him and a lot of these other ones. So I would anticipate that it probably goes okay based on all those factors, but it's totally based on leadership at the top. The other one is, Drake May's young, and he's one of the guys tasked with handling this the right way, and who knows if he has any idea what he's doing.
TJ, I gotta ask you not to name names, but what were the emotions they were angry with Gary Pinkel. He's ruining our senior night. He's overshadowed our final game. What were the emotions?
The quotes were, if this guy costs me my senior night, I will never forgive him. It is, you're not there. You're our leader. You're not there to guide us to success. You not being there is going to, by the way, I think we won that game, so it ended up being a moot point, but you are costing me. I signed up for you. Because again, I'm a big fan of Gary Pinkel, and he made his mistake and apologized for it, but he was a great coach and and developed a lot of men. And so I don't have complaints against Coach Pinkel at all. However, you can see in that moment how this guy would say, you've been sitting here telling me about being a man and developing men and what you have to do to be a man, and you just decided not to show up and be a man when I needed you. That's what they're thinking.
And so, man, that's fascinating. I didn't remember that. I wasn't prepared for that. But that makes me think a bunch of different things. Because one thing we know for sure, let's say Mike Vrabel decided to sit out for a year or two, he would be the hottest coach available on the market. The Patriots would rehire him. Anybody would rehire him if he stepped away from football for an extended time. That they would keep the light on and keep the seat warm for Mike Vrabel, and if they didn't, some other NFL team would snap him up in a heartbeat, no?
Oh, I think certainly. And so, by the way, same thing would happen with Gary Pinkel. He's a college football Hall of Famer. Like, of course. That doesn't change the dynamic in the locker room, though, and how the guys are feeling about it. So, like, could he go do things? Sure. And, like, would the players ultimately want him back because he's, top 2 to 3 coach in the NFL, whatever? Yeah, probably, because players want to win and all that. And look, also remember the average player isn't in the league for very long. So, like, that's why they're mad, too. It's like, I got a short window here to win, and what are you doing? You can't keep it together? You can't keep it in your pants long enough for my 3-year NFL career? Come on. You could see why these guys would be upset.
Dre, the other interesting wrinkle to this is if Mike Vrabel, it had been discovered that he was having an affair with some OnlyFans model with no connection to the NFL, no connection to sports, I think this would land different and he would be in less trouble at home and even professionally. It's the fact that, like, no, you deal with sideline reporters and female reporters all the time. This is like in the office. This is at work sexual misconduct as opposed to, oh, I met, someone jumped in my Instagram DMs. Am I right here that the fact that this is work-related with a person that had access and other women have access to him, does that change the dynamic?
A little bit. Now, it depends if you're saying an OnlyFans model. Yes, that's a significant difference. And on to TJ's point, it's not so much that he couldn't keep it in his pants, is that he got caught. That's the reason we're talking about it, because who knows what else he was doing that we just don't know about? Who knows what any other coach is doing or reporter is doing that has not been reported? And if it was an OnlyFans model, yes, then he would kind of look crazy. If he's married, now being that he's married and it's a sideline reporter who's also married, it's okay. I can see how that can happen. As far as it being work misconduct, I don't think for him personally for his job, because we already talked about how Rossini ran through the coals at her job, but he didn't really at his job. So not so much, but it would depend on who he got caught with. I think in this situation, it seems understandable, for lack of a better term.
This is a crazy question I'm about to ask, putting you in a tough spot. But I'm just trying to think this through. If I think his wife would be, let's say, if there's a degree of how upset she is, it runs from 1 to 100. And I think she's hot at a 100 level, as opposed to if he got busted with some OnlyFans model who's not popular, who isn't driving news stories herself, and so it drops down to like a 90 if he was just having an affair with some random woman. I think the wife is more upset that it's on the job and it's this public and driving this much conversation.
I agree, because everybody knows who the woman is.
Yeah.
The wife knowing who the other woman is makes it worse, because, okay, how long have you known this woman? And she was reporting on you for how long? You had that job, this job, and you went to that place in Sedona, and it looks like they did that intentionally, and you rented the room. And have you ever done that for me? So it makes it look worse because of what looks like a long-term relationship, as opposed to an OnlyFans, which he might have met on Instagram 3 weeks ago, and it was just a one-hit quitter, as they say. So yes, it does make it look worse.
TJ, it looked like you disagree or have a different take.
Yeah, I don't know if I disagree at all. That could be, everything you just said could be totally plausible. I don't know what sort of man Vrabel contends to be. So what kind of husband has he led his wife to believe that he is? If he has, there's never been any idea that he would consider cheating, which I have no idea. Again, he played in the NFL for a long time. Don't know. And he's a Christian, which I think he says he's a Christian, but obviously the way he handled the Trayvon Henderson thing, obviously not there we're in the belief system that we are. But if that's the case, I think any sort of cheating throws the woman into a different galaxy. And so I'm not sure it can get worse from there. If you said, I've known this guy for this long, it can be more frustrating because all your friends know about it, right? And it can be like a little more in your face, but like, how much worse can it be than destroying the trust of a person that you thought you knew for 25 plus years? They had their first kid in 2000. So how long they've been married? So like your world has just been flipped upside down. Does it make it that much worse that you know this or that? Again, it depends on, have they been through this 15 times? I don't know anything about that. I'm saying if he contends to be a certain type of person and for 25 years can put on that show and then this happens, I just don't know how much worse it can get.
Well,
I think it depends.
Go ahead, Dre.
I think it depends. What if it was his wife's sister versus some woman who was just hanging in the lobby at a hotel when they were playing in San Francisco? I think there's levels to it, depending on who it was, regardless of what we know about the relationship.
Sure, yeah, when you go into sister, that's a little different.
but I think, and I'm way off in speculation land, but I think that Bill Belichick's relationship with Jordan, Hudson. Yeah, Jordan Hudson has really heightened sensitivity around this for wives. It's like, man, Bill Belichick, he's 70 some odd years old, and this is the crazy thing he's doing. He's not having an affair with his 50-year-old secretary. These guys are multimillionaire celebrities wilding out. And I think that Mike Vrabel, particularly his initial statement, this is laughable. For people to be making a big deal of these pictures is laughable. Indicates a level of delusion and arrogance that he was under that happens when you're a multimillionaire since you've been left college at, say, 21, 22. You have all this success as a coach, and you just nearly won the Super Bowl, and you think you're bulletproof. The idiocy of putting out the statement that these pictures are laughable for anyone to be taking this seriously indicates a level of delusion that I think probably impacted his relationship with his wife. If you look at the interview I saw him do on Barstool, where he's talking about, he's making references to, my wife has made my private part useless. He hasn't done as many interviews as Diana Rossini because that's her job, and she was doing this little stand-up routine about her husband, but he was doing a little bit of that as well. So I think that, I don't think the wife is super surprised. I think she's mortified that this has all gone public in such a big way. This isn't Urban Meyer goosing a girl at a bar, and that kind of all just went away. No one knows who that girl is. She wasn't in the media, blah, blah, blah. It's all kind of forgotten. This thing won't be forgotten. It's a major story that people won't forget. Either one of you want to respond to that, and then we'll wrap this up.
Well, I'll just tell you that the laughable comment, I would be willing to bet a lot of money. Those aren't even his words. It came from a crisis management team. He didn't come up with any of that. Both of these guys had crisis
He had to sign off on it. I don't care how much I'm paying a crisis management team. I'm not going to be that kind of stupid.
Well, you're a little smarter than he is in this case, but he's listening to people who said, if we handle it this way, and we got the other side of this too with Diana, this will all work out in the end, and they've already got the New York Times on board with her, and you won't have to worry about it. So that, just play your part. We got it. It's never a good idea, but I'm saying the delusion came from the advice of others. I don't even think these were his words.
The acceptance of the delusion came from a delusional person. Dre, go ahead.
It's PR speak. That's all that is, Jason. It's you come out and you make it seem like it's a nothing burger and everybody should ignore it. And listen, a lot of times that works. It's just this time it didn't work. But I don't think, as TJ said, I don't think those were his words. They said, let's just act like this is absolutely nothing. Because if he said anything else, then as we see the situation with his wife, it would seem like he's kind of admitting what happened. He's trying to say it didn't happen at all until he couldn't say that anymore.
I get the it wasn't me defense. And that, but holy cow, man, it's like if someone walks up on me and there's tartar sauce dripping out of the corner of my mouth and my breath smells like a fillet of fish, and I say, I don't eat at McDonald's. It's laughable for you to think that I eat at McDonald's. That's how stupid that statement was. Any person with streets, like, man, them pictures, they got you. And because first thing I thought when the pictures came out, it's like, not only do they got you, they're leaking out the most innocent pictures because they got some better ones that they're actually holding over your head. But anyway, gentlemen, we got some other NFL draft stuff I got to talk about. I got to let you guys go. We got something interesting happened in the NBA playoffs last night. Devin Booker snapped on an NBA referee and NBA officiating. We'll get to that with Jay Skapinac. Shaun King, just around the corner. We'll talk some NFL draft with him. And that the end. And we got an NFL draft expert, new guy that's coming on, Price Carter, rising NFL draft guru. Thank you, Bobby Burak at Outkick, for pointing this guy out to me. He's a bit of a Chiefs expert as well. So we'll talk some NFL draft with him. Plus, we'll have Shaun King. The best part of the show, actually, is going to be the ending to the show. It's as a timing deal, it didn't work at the top of the show. This take I have about Nick Khan and college football. Nick Khan, the kingpin of the WWE, said something very interesting yesterday in front of Congress. I've got a take on that is magnificent. Would have started the show with this, but it's NFL draft day, and so I didn't want to start the show with something because when I explain the significance of Nick Khan and college sports and college football, it's going to blow your mind. And so I'm going to unpack some things at the end of the show, and then tomorrow I'm going to further that discussion. But the ending of the show will actually be the best part of this show. Stick around for all of that, and we want to make sure that if you're listening over Apple or Spotify or watching on Spotify, make sure you hit that 5-star rating. It's very, very important. And I'm telling you, this show today is worth that 5-star rating, particularly when we get to the end. I got a major thing I'm going to unpack for you. The other thing you can do that's major, the most major thing you can do, you can participate in saving a baby's life today. Today, you can help save a baby's life, and that's by supporting Preborn. Our partner here at Fearless. Preborn supports our worldview that life begins at conception. They support that worldview by providing expectant mothers who are considering abortion. They provide her an ultrasound. Ultrasound introduces that baby's heartbeat, an image of the baby while the baby's in the womb. That woman, once she hears that heartbeat, sees that image, she's now twice as likely to choose life, and that's when Preborn really steps in and steps up, because they support that mother and child for up to 2 years. It's amazing the work that Preborn does. It's amazing the opportunity that they give us to help them do this and to help us do something that increases our holiness, and that's helping save a baby's life. You can do that by donating to Preborn. Go to preborn.com/fearless. That's preborn.com/fearless. Or dial pound 250. Say the keyword baby. It's simple. It's easy. It's important. It's one of the greatest things you can do to your day. Today, it's going to make you feel good about yourself. But more important than that, it's going to make God go, oh, look at my good and faithful soldier. Look at my good and faithful follower helping save babies' lives. All right, when we come back, Jay Skapanac's going to join us, and we'll talk about Devin Booker snapping after the Suns lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder last night. Jalen Hurts, all-female management team. I am the woman king. Hear me roar. This is great. Women are telling him what to do. This is the modern American man that we must all rally around. Some henpicked Negro is the ultimate model of what everybody's supposed to rally around. And I say, nah, this ain't it. Jalen Hurts thinks he has the dream team. The media tells him he has the dream team. They tell him that his agent, let me make sure Nicole Lynn, who's with Clutch Sports. And Nicole Lynn, she's the gold standard. Black Queen, she's making history. Chantel Romaine, his media relations VP of communication. Shakima Simmons-Winter, his publicist. Rachel Everett, marketing and branding, ESM Sports. Jenna Malfris, senior client management, or manager. That group of women, those queens, those boss babes, those girl bosses.
So if you bifurcate the sports professionally and collegiately, as everyone in this room knows, college football is the number 2 most popular sport in the United States. Yet it generates...
I don't know if you're aware of this, but even the broadcast was confused by your tech. What was the explanation that you got?
I still haven't got one. It's definitely something that has to be looked into. I heard Caruso tell him to call the tech, and, he ended up doing it. So that's one ref. In my 11 years, I haven't called a ref out by name, but James was terrible tonight, through and through. It's bad for the sport, bad for the integrity of the sport. People are going to start viewing this as a WWE, if they're not held responsible.
Similar thing for you on the offensive foul with Caruso, where you didn't get an explanation there either?
Yeah, and then the very next play, it said unnatural shooting motion that hit Caruso, but Caruso's moving forward on that. And if that's unnatural shooting motion compared to what guys are doing to get fouls nowadays, like, you can play them side by side, and I'll let you guys be the judge. Like, pull the clips, run it back. I'm surprised this is happening on national TV in playoff games.
Look, how hard is that to play through?
It's hard. It just feels disrespectful. You know I haven't won a championship in this league, but I have been in it for 11 years now. So to get to this point, to be treated like that, for me to even be saying something out loud, it's bad.
Have you ever done something? I mean, have you ever? I don't think I can recall you talking about the officials.
Yeah, it's my first time in 11 years, but it's needed. Like I said, whatever I get fined for, everybody can pull the clips and see where the frustration comes from.
Jay, that was about as harsh a criticism and as pointed a criticism as I've ever seen directed at an NBA ref or any individual ref. Is that just sour grapes? They lose to the Oklahoma City Thunder 120-107. The Thunder have a unique whistle as it relates to SGA, or is this just like a tipping point for NBA players that the officiating is that bad? What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's confusing. It's a confusing question and a confusing answer, Jason, because when you look at the Thunder on the surface, like there's not outrageous discrepancies going on. I mean, last night they shot 25 free throws. The Suns shot 22. SGA shot 9 free throws. Devin Booker shot 10. During the regular season, the Oklahoma City Thunder were only 17th league-wide on average in free throws attempted per game. During the regular season, SGA did shoot a lot of free throws, but only 9. He was 3rd league-wide behind Luka Doncic and Denny Avdija. So there's nothing glaring or apparent going on in terms of SGA's whistle in particular when I look at the tape, when I watch the games. Do I see a guy that is annoying and grifting his way to the free throw line most of the time, throwing himself into people, flopping all over the place with no intention of making a shot, just trying to get to the free throw line? Of course he does that. But he's an all-time great player. He's going to win his 2nd consecutive league MVP. The rules are established the way they are established right now in the NBA. By the letter of the law, those are fouls on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he's earning those free throw attempts. They're soft, ticky-tack, touch fouls. I don't like them. I wish the NBA would change the way that things are being officiated today. But until they do, those are legitimate fouls that he's getting and not outrageous when you think about the whistle that other all-time great players get in the NBA today and historically. Like, star players get those calls. So I don't see an issue with the whistle that the Thunder are getting. The problem, Jason, to me, and it is a glaring problem, I think, and a major problem league-wide, it basically makes the Thunder unbeatable. And they already have a big enough advantage. They already have a top 3 league-wide player, the best bench, the best defense, probably the best big 3, if Jalen Williams doesn't miss a significant amount of time with a hamstring injury last night. They have a big enough advantage. They don't need refs swallowing the whistle for them when they're defending, because they are mauling and manhandling everybody that they play in their path. Like, just fouling the hell out of people on the ball, getting away with it, and getting like 17, 20, 23 turnovers a night in these playoff games. That is the difference. So when you add it all together, what they get away with on the defensive side of things, when they are attacking and mauling the other team for 48 hours, then you sneeze on SGA and he's on the free throw line. That is the source of frustration, and it does realistically make Oklahoma City unbeatable.
These types of comments from Devin Booker, am I right? I mean, he basically compared it to WWE. He called out an official by name. These are hyperbolic comments. I think the fine here is going to be enormous and precedent setting. No?
Yeah, I talked about this on a video that I'm making now. It's going to be a Mark Cuban-esque fine. Like, you typically see players get like $60,000, $70,000 fines. This is going to be, my estimation, in the hundreds of thousands of dollar range, which Mark Cuban got a couple $500,000 fines. I think he got $1 million fine. This is going to be significant. I mean, in the same game, Dylan Brooks had a lot of commentary too about the officiating after the game. He's typically like the lightning rod on that team. His comments were extreme but tame compared to the ones that Booker dropped. Though those were as pointed of a commentary on officiating and an individual official as I probably ever can remember hearing an NBA player deliver. He's going to get fined a substantial amount today. It's probably going to come out today. And like I said, I'm expecting a couple $100,000 maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking in the $250,000 range. The other element of this, I heard the comments and then I went and I was like, let me frame it up a little bit better. Do you believe the NBA has an officiating problem? I think most people believe not just an OKC problem, but just an officiating competency problem that I hear people talk about constantly.
For sure. Like I said, I want the rules changed. I don't like the way things have been officiated for basically like 15 years now. Jason, they removed the hand checking in, I think it was 2004. So, I mean, basically,
that's a rule thing. There's a competency or credibility issue that NBA referees have. Do you think they're incompetent? And the reason I bring that up is, and sorry to irritate people, but the NBA has leaned into DEI. It's not about merit. It's not about competence. It's about DEI. I went and looked up. There was a story in 2021 about they were bragging. Half the NBA refs during the playoffs are black. This was a celebratory story in 2021. This is an outgrowth of the George Floyd deal. And it wasn't about, hey, we've got the best refereeing crew. It's like, hey, 50% of our playoff refs, there's 36 refs that work the playoffs, and half of them are black, and that's what they're celebrating. This year, I believe 31%, they've actually dropped back down because I don't think they were getting the results that they were thinking when you don't apply merit or standards, and it's just all about color coding. The officiating, I think, got even worse. This year they're down to about 31%, and it just didn't surprise me that the ref that this guy goes after, the most aggressive we've ever seen or heard, just happens to be a black guy. This is black on black crime.
Yeah, I mean, the calls in general from, I don't know, like this decade versus the last, I'd say overall, yes, officiating has gotten worse by and large, specifically on the big marquee games, which we see, the playoff games. It's bad, and it's more notable because these are like single, like standalone national spotlight games. There's no other games going on. Everybody's watching that game. So it's just more noteworthy what we're seeing now in the postseason. It's not different, though, as it is during the regular season. And there has been a pretty marked descent, I think, of overall officiating and the quality of officiating over the last 10 years. But I do just have to, in my opinion, it's more so the rules that the league has set forth and the way in which they're instructing their officiating teams to officiate these games. That is the more glaring issue. And that is more, honestly, it's more repairable. Like if the league offices and Commissioner Adam Silver would just change the way things are being evaluated, then I think that could really help boost the product in a substantial way.
Last thought, I think Hadley just sent me something that I think may apply. There aren't listed maximum fines for commenting refs. Jason Kidd was fined $35,000 this season. I think Anthony Edwards was fined $75,000 last year. Multiple six figures would be a huge jump. But I think when you start calling it WWE and you call out a referee specifically and you call out a referee from a protected class, the DEI class, I think we're going to see an unprecedented fine here. Scap, I'll give you a final thought, and then we got to go.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I know that. I'm aware of that it's typically $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 fines, but I think that those were unprecedented statements. He went on in detail, Jason, for like 5 full minutes. I think that it will be an unprecedented fine now that will follow.
Thank you, Scap. We're going to pivot and talk some NFL draft. Is Price ready to go? By 1 minute. Uh, Again, whether he's ready to go or not, I got to take care of a little business here. I want to tell you guys about Angel Studios' latest. They're remaking, or they're making a movie, or they've made a version of George Orwell's classic tale, Animal Farm. It's a bold, animated adaptation. This is what we expect from Angel Studios. They turn the classics, they turn the topics that most people aren't brave enough to touch in an honest way. They turn them into great movies that don't violate and actually support our Christian biblical worldview. They've got another one. It comes out. It's in theaters on May 1st, just around the corner. What is that? 8 days away. Tickets are available right now at angel.com/Animal Farm. If you're not aware of the Animal Farm story, it's great for your kids. It's going to spark all kinds of conversations about the values and the importance of American Christian values and why we should reject Marxism and Marxist values. This is a great movie for the entire family. It's going to spark conversations with your young kids. It's an awesome opportunity for fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, mothers, fathers, sons and daughters, the whole family to go out and see an animated movie that will support our values, entertain the heck out of you, but also give you things to talk about with your kids. Go to angel.com/Animal Farm right now. It's recommended for ages 11 and up. Animal Farm from Angel Studios. You don't want to miss it. Available starting May 1st. Price is ready to go. Man, I'm excited about this next guest. Bobby Burack from Outkick tweeted out that, hey, look, man, anybody that is looking for someone young and up and coming to talk about the NFL draft, you should check into Price Carter. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I like Bobby Burack, and he's got good instincts about the media. And then when I looked deeper, I was like, well, hold on, man, this guy covers the Kansas City Chiefs. And, has a long, I think he's been covering the Chiefs since maybe 2020, from Kansas City, knows the Kansas City. I'm a Chiefs fan. My expertise is the Kansas City Chiefs, and so I got an NFL draft expert that covers the Kansas City Chiefs. That's awesome. Price Carter, welcome to Fearless. Thank you for joining us. Man, I think I'm more excited about this than you are. But I am pretty excited. How long you been doing the draft thing?
That picked up right about 2022. I started covering the Chiefs during the pandemic when there wasn't a whole lot to do, and my coworkers were like, "Hey, man, you should start writing this stuff down. You should start talking about this. We just love listening to you talk football." And then when the Chiefs had all those picks post Tyreek Hill trade, that's when I really got pulled in. So I've been covering the draft for the last 3 or 4 years for the site, and wrote up 100 prospects in 100 days, 100 Chiefs-centric scouting reports and tape cut-ups on players, all tailored towards the Chiefs. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's good to talk to you. I grew up in Kansas City. I love hearing you go on with Stephen St. John occasionally. A good friend of mine, talk to him occasionally. I'm about to go on 810 here at noon. So it's good to talk to you and good to talk to a Kansas City guy.
Price, let's start with the most obvious question. Fernando Mendoza. There's a handful of people that think like, oh, he's the most overrated deal. He's a 3rd or 4th round pick. And then there are people like me that think, no, man, this guy's intangibles are so awesome that, I think he's a mid-1st round pick, but he's the best quarterback available, so he's going to get a little bit overdrafted. I like Fernando Mendoza. And then there are people that think Fernando Mendoza is the clear-cut number 1 choice, and he's a great pick at number 1. Where are you at on the Fernando Mendoza spectrum?
Yeah, I think, you start right with what you were talking about, the intangibles with him. This is a guy who took over an Indiana team that's never won a national championship, coming from Cal, instantly takes over that program and really stepped in some of the biggest moments to help them go undefeated. Some of those games are really tough. You think about the injury against Ohio State on the first play of the game. He gets up, he plays through that. You think about what he did in that Miami game. That Miami game was a lot closer than we might remember it into the second half. Penn State keeping their perfect season alive, a clutch touchdown there against the Oregon team. He has a clutch drive there. And then also a great story with him supporting his mother with MS, brings her to games. He's doing the draft at his house today to better support her needs. So seems like a great guy. The intangibles are there, but beyond just that, the player, like, you love the size. Like, he's an underrated big guy, 6'6", 270 pounds. He's a big guy, and he's uses his body well. I think he is. I wouldn't call him a plus scrambler, but he can use his mobility well. I think there's some questions there. I think if he was in last year's class, it'd be a toss up between him and Cam Ward. Probably more of a preference. I think Cam Ward's more of a creator in space, but he's not quite the athlete that Mendoza is. I think the arm talent is better with Ward, but I think the cerebralness of Mendoza is a little bit better. In that Indiana offense, it's not necessarily going to translate day one, and that's why I like what the Raiders have done by bringing in Kirk Cousins. The Indiana offense uses a ton of RPOs. They love that. That's part of what made evaluating some of those wide receivers tricky for that offense as well too. But I think he's got a good infrastructure to come into. I love the intangibles. I'm not sure how much Brady is going to actually be involved in the development with him as well too. But it seems like maybe, just maybe, this time the Raiders will do it right.
Well, you speak of the Raiders, and I think you made a slip. I think it was you said that Fernando was. Did you say 270 pounds? I think he's around 240, 245.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Yeah, he's
I was gonna say
236. Yeah,
yeah,
good size. Yeah, not that
like,
big.
Yeah, I was like, man, are they drafting Jamarcus Russell? Is that Fernando Russell? Is that what you're talking? But slip of the tongue. Let me move to Ty Simpson, the other quarterback that is drawing a lot of attention. Where are you at on Ty Simpson? Is he a first-round pick?
Yeah, I think it's really kind of going to be beauty in the eye of the beholder. I think midway through the college football season, there was a real reason to talk about Ty Simpson as the potential number one overall quarterback in this class. The start to his season was excellent. What I really like about him, he has that mobility too. He can be a plus scrambler, and his ability to access and throw the ball over the middle of the field and layer and touch those throws. He was showing some real NFL quarterback traits. There's some real intangibles there with him too. NFL teams are going to really like that he waited his turn at Alabama and didn't transfer out. He's the son of a longtime college football coach. The size for him is a little bit more concerning, and that's also reared its head in this college football season where he gets injured, has some injuries that ultimately the painkillers end up tearing the stomach lining for him, and he got way down in weight, maybe sub 200 pounds. And that's where some of those struggles came. And we saw him leave the playoff game injured. That's really the question there with him. Is just like, what is the infrastructure he's going to be brought into? He hasn't really started a whole lot of games. The arm talent is satisfactory. I wouldn't say it's overwhelming. He's not dripping with traits, but there's things to like about how he ran that Kalen DeBoer offense. We saw him put Michael Penix in the first round in the NFL draft. So I think really the question is what system is he going to? Is he going to go to the Cardinals, a team that's routinely failed quarterbacks? I'm a big believer in that franchises fail quarterbacks as much as quarterbacks fail franchises. So if he's getting picked by the Rams or the Steelers or some of these teams that might be able to, whether it be Aaron Rodgers or Matt Stafford or someone who can kind of guide him and develop him, I like his potential as kind of, that late first, early second round quarterback to come in and eventually make an impact. I wonder about him as a day one starter though, just because I think the size isn't overwhelming, the traits aren't overwhelming, and he's not really got a lot of football underneath his belt.
Let me focus a little bit more at home with my favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs. Justin Fields may have to play the early part of the season, and Andy Reid has been talking pretty positively about Justin Fields. They acquire the running back from Seattle this offseason in a major move. What do you think? Is Andy Reid overselling, overhyping, or does he really believe Justin Fields is a guy that could be an asset for them early in the season if Patrick Mahomes isn't healthy?
Yeah, and I'm never going to rule out Patrick Mahomes starting the first game of the season. That's a guy that you don't want to doubt. He's always attacked his rehab really well. I think the Chiefs and Mahomes are optimistic that he will be ready to start the season. But regardless, you want to feel good about your backup quarterback situation. A lot of teams end up using them. And I think what Fields bring, obviously, as a mover, like that's what you really like. And also, you can talk yourself into, this is another guy going back to the franchises fail quarterbacks. Like he's been with the Jets. He was with the Bears. not a lot of great systems to support him. So what I like about him, and frankly, this is something that's a bigger narrative around Kansas City, is Andy Reid has this aura around him of being a quarterback whisperer, but it's not really been since Chad Henne that there's been a backup quarterback in Kansas City that's looked good. There was some moments there with Matt Moore back in the first Super Bowl win under Mahomes, but the backup quarterback position's kind of struggled. The offense has kind of become it's Mahomes or it's bust. So Fields' ability to just run around and create is enticing. I can certainly envision a red zone package for Justin Fields as well too as a mover. They've brought Gardner Minshew, Carson Wentz into the red zone to do some stuff there too. So I do think that there's some, and I mean, look, there was things to like about Justin Fields coming out of Ohio State. He's got an arm. It's just the accuracy is the problem, and there's just way too much pressure to sack right there where he's inviting sacks by running around too much. But I do think that this could be a situation where the Chiefs do end up using Justin Fields, whether it be week 1 or maybe a random red zone package as well too.
Finally, the Chiefs have 2 first-round picks. What do you think they'll do?
Yeah, it's interesting. 9, it is funny to listen to Brett Veach talk about it, the general manager. He used to say like, well, back when we were picking at 32, 31, we were just hoping we could get up to the 20s. And now that he's at 9, it's like, oh, I wish we could just kind of get up there to 4 or 5. And this is a class that, the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I don't know that we're going to see a ton of consensus. I think we're in for an entertaining night with trades and where the players go. I think at 9, they're probably looking at 2 players. I know that and Bobby and I have been talking that they're really hot on Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver from Arizona State. He has true wide receiver 1 potential. He moves like a wide receiver 1. The way he cuts in and out of his breaks, the way he goes and gets the ball. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. That would be kind of a different speed than what the Chiefs have done at wide receiver. They typically like these smaller separators with long speed, but Tyson, his ceiling is as high as any player. But the injuries between a broken collarbone and ACL, has a soft tissue injury during the draft process here that lingered from the season. And then the other player is Ruben Bain, the edge rusher out of Miami, who is probably my favorite. I know that there are some concerns over the length of the arms, but this is a guy that you just turn on the tape and you see a guy who rushes with such violence and physicality. He's been playing with those short arms his whole career and has just been a really good, highly productive college football player. And I think the thing that's different here, we hear about arm length all the time with tackles. Well, if you take a tackle at 9 and he ends up playing guard for you, one, the Chiefs are very solid at guard, and you can't split a tackle, 1 series at tackle, 1 series at guard. With Ruben Bain, he can play 50, 60% on the edge and then kick inside and still be an effective pass rusher. He's shown to do that on tape. His running mate, Akeem Messidor, did that as well, too. So the Chiefs have a need at interior defensive line and edge. Both are very valuable positions. So I see his floor much higher than a lot of other people do. The arm length doesn't scare me. You just turn on his ability to set the edge, rush with power. He's got above average bend for his size. I love the player. I think it's a great fit. I think Steve Spagnuolo is going to be really excited to have him in the building.
They really need it because where are Chiefs fans at and where are you at on Chris Jones? I'm kind of like, man, I think he's lost his passion, and we're never going to see the dominant version of Chris Jones again. Where are you at?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs can do some things to help Chris Jones out a little bit here too. If you look at the amount of snaps he still plays 70 to 80% of the snaps. That's a lot for a big guy like him going into his 30s. They've got George Karlaftis on the other side of him, but the pass rusher opposite of Karlaftis this year was quite honestly one of the most efficient pass rushers in the league, whether it be Charles Omenihu or Mike Dana. So one, they can help Chris Jones by simply playing him less snaps. If they are able to upgrade the interior defensive line with Omar Norman-Lott, they brought in Kyrus Tonga from the Patriots, they can start getting a rotation where Chris Jones is playing closer to 50 to 60% of the snaps. You can get the best of Chris Jones, where one, he's not huffing air and he's able to pin his ears back and get to the quarterback, which is what he does best. I think, it's kind of that Toby Keith song. I'm as good once as I once was, but I'm as good once as I always was. Getting the best out of him for those pinnacle moments. And I think that's where they can help him out. And I certainly think getting a player like Ruben Bain on the opposite side, that would be the best pass rush prospect that they've put next to George Karlaftis and Chris Jones. And if you go back to 2 years ago when the Chiefs were towards the lead league in sacks, that's when they were getting good stuff out of Charles Omenihu and Mike Dana. They're not really getting that anymore. So it's a pass rush plan. And I do think Chris Jones has juice left in the tank. He's an all-time great player, a future Hall of Famer. It's just how can they build infrastructure around him to make the most effective?
Price, thank you so much. We will circle back. I'm glad Bobby Burrick pointed you out. Love the Chiefs insight. Love the overall draft insight. Thank you so much, Price.
Yeah, thanks for having me, sir.
All right. That's Price Carter. I believe Shaun King is ready to go. Big Shug, Shaun King, joining us as he does every Thursday. Shaun, I got a doozy. I don't know if we'll get beyond this Mike Vrabel conversation, but we may try to sneak in a little NFL draft talk beyond Vrabel missing the third day of the draft. But I can't. I've been sitting here on pins and needles like, what's Shaun King going to say about Mike Vrabel and the fact that he can't say, well, this is a private matter. This has nothing to do with football. When you're skipping the third day of the draft and taking an indefinite leave of absence, the Diana Russini thing has significant football impact. What do you think about what's going on with Mike Vrabel and the indefinite leave of absence that starts on Saturday?
Well, he's trying to save his family, Jason. Like, that's been my whole point of contention. At the end of the day, what the public thinks is irrelevant.
Well, hold for 1 second. Don't lose your train of thought. But I do want to remind you that there was some guy that looked a lot like you, along with Darnell Smith, who was saying, that, I don't think anything was really going on. I think he's innocent.
I'm going to withhold judgment until I heard from Russini's husband or Vrabel's wife. Because in spite of all the public outroar and opinion, the only two opinions that matter are those two people. Him get another job.
So hold on. We still haven't heard from Russini's husband or Vrabel's wife. Are you still giving him the benefit of the doubt based on she quit her job and he's taking a leave of absence? If I didn't stick anything where I wasn't supposed to stick anything, I wouldn't be taking a leave of absence, Shaun.
So I don't know if they did or didn't. I'm standing 10 toes down on my opinion that I wasn't there.
Shaun, cut it out.
Jason, what I am saying.
She lost her job and he's taking a leave from his job. What do you need?
So a lot of times in these situations, man, popularity matters. It looks like Diana Russini was not very popular within that insider space, like on the insider, like media side. Because I've seen.
Do you have a crush on Diana Russini?
Not at all. I never met that lady in my life.
Well, it doesn't mean you don't have a crush on her.
Come on, I'm grown, Jason. We don't crush over video. I gotta meet you. Like, gotta be an energy attached to you at this point in my life for me to. I'm not. Your physical not gonna get me to that level of.
She quit her job. He's taking a leave of absence from his job. So, I'm not asking you to be Sherlock Holmes.
I don't want to be naive. I don't want to seem naive here.
Yeah,
I don't want to.
The math ain't mathing, Shaun.
As if I'm pondering. What I'm saying is, obviously, there was something going on. Okay, At this point, we got to acknowledge and allege that. Because they haven't been able to produce proof of the extra friends or of any substantial reason why they were there together alone. All I said from the beginning was I was going to withhold judgment until I gathered further information and heard the opinions of those closest to them. Like, in these situations, man, this is why I call this OPB, this other people business. For some reason in America, we got a fascination with other people business. If Vrabel want to take a little time off to go and make sure that his home is right, that's his business. If Diana Russini want to take a little time off of her job so she can go be a better wife, better mother to her husband, that's her business. Unlike the majority of people that I hear bloviate, oh, I was right all along, I don't look at this from a favorable context. I don't look at this from a outlook of I told you so. I look at it as there are kids involved in both situations. There's a family structure that's now probably fractured. So I hope that they're able to do the things necessary to save their family. And if they were doing something nefarious, they learn from their mistake.
Shaun, I hear you. You're trying to stay on the high road. But sometimes the high road is a very naive road. and it's the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I just want everybody in your audience, the people that look forward to your visits on the show, the people that look forward to watching you on the Coach JB show, I just want them to know that, like, you're not naive and you got some common sense, you got some street smarts, and sometimes the evidence is just overwhelming that, like,
coming off as Urkel. Are you trying to say that I'm like Will Smith?
And I know you better than that. I know you're not Urkel, and I'm trying to figure out, like,
what's Will Smith's brother name on
Carlton.
Carl, you say I'm Carlton? Okay.
I know you're not that.
Let me be crystal clear.
Yeah.
I've said from the beginning, Jason, the first statement I think I made was free birds gotta fly.
Yes.
My whole context for all of this was when you look at historically how Diana Rossini has presented and projected herself, that bird is always going to have to fly. And her husband, when he was her boyfriend, when he was someone trying to be her boyfriend. So to all the men out there, you got to acknowledge that when you decide, okay, I'm going to make a free bird my significant other, understand that bird has to fly the coop in order to be truly happy.
And so that is you acknowledging that clearly something transpired, that clearly there was a sexual relationship here. She's a free bird. That's what free birds do.
Free birds got to fly, Jason. They got to fly. It will be, it will be a shame. What would be a real shame is if Vrabel didn't get to take it there, because this was their first foray, and he's still in all this mess.
If this was his first foray and he hadn't tapped that, he wouldn't be taking an indefinite leave of absence. He would be standing 10 toes down. Baby, I didn't do it.
You guilty either way at this point. Once you couldn't produce the friends, if you're in a marriage, you guilty either way, whether you did or you didn't.
You did it in your mind. I'll quit beating a dead horse. I'm not going to get you to admit what's obvious. But
absolutely you're not.
Huh?
Absolutely you're not, because that's other people's business. We got to start standing up for other people's business. Mind your own business.
Okay, let me tell you why he made it other people's business, Shaun. That's my overall point. The man now has to take an indefinite leave of absence. He's going to miss Saturday's draft. He potentially is going to miss next week's off-season program, which just started this week. This has impact on the team. It's not some little private affair that can be swept under the rug. It's now all out in public. It's now affected his status and availability to serve the New England Patriots. That is obvious. That changes everything.
Maybe it's something wrong with the Patriots, because it seemed like if you're a male figure and you work for or own the Patriots, like didn't Kraft get caught in the massage parlor?
Yeah.
Didn't Belichick get caught coming out the house with his shirt off with the little woman he with? Did Vrabel get caught up in the mountains of Sedona? Maybe it's a Patriot thing. And if you hold on,
let me ask you this though: were you in that massage parlor with Robert Kraft? Are you sure something happened there? Maybe he just got a regular massage. Maybe there was no happy ending, Shaun. Just be consistent. Just be consistent.
Maybe he just liked them Asian hands, the elderly touch.
Yeah, maybe Bill Belichick came out of that young girl's house at 5 a.m. with his shirt off. Maybe nothing happened.
Well, he never left, so if it didn't happen that day, it happened by now because she's still with him. I'm just saying, Jason. They all were employed or own the Patriots. It's all Patriot men.
Let me try to just in the locker room. Will this be an issue for Mike Vrabel?
Not at all. Not at all. You know how many cats in that locker room is tiptoeing? Like rethinking like all of their little side pieces, their little duck off spots. They're getting out their car now, looking in the grass, making sure nobody over there taking pictures. Remember, Vrabel had went away to what they thought was an exclusive private spot. Somebody was ducked off in the mountain with a long-range camera. That's how they got caught. In that locker room, that's the conversation being had. Hey, boy, you better tighten it up. And that's the God-honest truth.
Trust me, I hear you, but you're acting like double standards and hypocrisy don't exist. You're acting like, well, he's the head
if Diana
coach.
Rossini was a man, she probably would still have her job. There are double standards and hypocrisy, 100%.
Hold for 1 second. Hold for 1 second. Let's stay with your analogy there.
Okay.
If Diana Rossini was a man,
there were
pictures of this man holding hands with Mike Vrabel, sitting in a hot tub with Mike Vrabel.
No.
You just said if she was a man. Huh?
A female head coach. Yeah, I wasn't talking about.
All right. So let's say
Vrabel probably would be out if that happened.
Let's say that Shaun King is a sideline reporter for CBS, covering women's college basketball. And there were pictures revealed of you and Don Staley off at some getaway hotel for romance, holding hands, sitting together in the hot tub, looking starry-eyed in each other's eyes, private little breakfast pictures and whatnot. You think you would, if people thought you and Don Staley were sleeping together and you were covering South Carolina women's college basketball, you think you would keep your job?
Well, first of all, shout out to Don Staley. And secondly, what I would tell my employer was I was comforting her after the interaction with Gino. You know, she was upset. You know, she was emotionally hijacked. She needed a male opinion. So I was comforting a friend. Like, in that business, you create friendships. You hope that they don't cross the line, but anytime you hang around somebody all the time, inevitably there's probably going to be relationships that are closer than others.
Do you think your employer would go for it, or would you be able to say, hey, I was on a boys' trip?
I'm glad you asked that, because now it depends on my likability, my power, my influence, my position within said company. It's not a moral thing. Like, the company is not, they can put up with what they want to put up with. That's the whole part of this that I think is not being talked about. It's not a morality thing. They didn't make her resign because morally it's not right for an insider to have too close of a relationship with a person in position of power, or because she cheated on her husband. No, she didn't have enough cachet and substance behind her within that particular company to overcome this.
Or how about she lied to him and said it was a girls' trip and couldn't even produce any pictures or evidence that it was a girls' trip? A plane ticket, a car ride. Who are these girls? How did they get there? Blah, blah, blah. She lied to her employer. And so if you, as a male reporter, were having an affair with Don Staley or Kim Mulkey or whomever in women's college basketball and then lied about it and they were obvious lies, the man would get fired, Shaun.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't lie. I'm comforting her.
Well, you're comforting her over Gino Auriemma.
Yeah, or a loss, you know, or she had a recruit that wanted too much money.
You're telling me Don Staley doesn't have a girlfriend or wife to comfort her after a loss. Is that what you're telling me?
Hey, OPB, man, that's other people's business. I don't know what Don Staley do when she's not on the sideline at the University of South Carolina, so I can't speak on that, Jason. You're not going to pull me into your own entanglement on Fearless. That is other people's business. You brought her up as an example. I said what I would tell the employer. So you think you're slick?
I don't think I'm slick. I'm trying to understand the mind of Shaun King. And that's we're going to need to come up with an intro, the mind of Shaun King. And because I'm trying to understand the hoops you're jumping through that just can't say like, hey, man, this guy has caused a problem for himself. There's no consequences for Mike Vrabel. Yes, there are. Clearly, his wife has full control now of that relationship. It may be a temporary situation, but she's calling the shots. She's the captain now. And he's having to leave during the NFL draft and having to potentially miss work next week to go fix his marriage. And I salute him for it. I really do, because this is exactly what he should be doing. But there are consequences, and I think the dynamics in the locker room, because the coach sits there as the moral authority. It's no different than me and the 5-6 people that work for me here at Fearless. I set a standard, and I talk to, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. I need you to be on time. I need you to work hard. And just suppose that I get busted doing something. And again, this is a faith-based show. And so if there's pictures that show up of me at a strip club or me holding hands with some 25-year-old girl somewhere, these guys aren't going to say, hey, that's other people's business. They're going to say Whitlock's a hypocrite, and they're going to question. And it doesn't matter. These guys might be doing all the same things as me, but I'm the leader. I'm the one that preaches a standard and has to be held to a standard. And Mike Vrabel is going to face those consequences. If you think Travion Henderson isn't sitting there going, oh, this man's trying to tell me I can't support Jordan Ivey with biblical scriptures, that I need to get educated and be more inclusive towards the LGBTQIA plus silent P crowd, he's got some issues in that locker room.
See, Christianity is about Christ, not Jason Whitlock. So my rebuttal to that would be, if a person's seeking a personal relationship with Christ, then that should be where their energy's headed. Like, man will let you down every time. There is no perfect man walking. And I understand about the hypocrisy because of what the platform shows, but I don't want to get lost in that, because I want to transition to the part where I feel like Mike Vrabel's egregious, because it leads into Clint Kubiak and a stance that he's taking, the new Raiders head coach.
Go ahead.
Vrabel's issue now is you publicly condemned and criticized lifestyle choices of one of your players. So now you're kind of undermining your own authority within the building. So the messaging to coaches is lead without being so specific that you become backed into a corner.
How about the message to the coaches is, don't be hypocrites. And I
don't think anybody says they wake up in the morning and says, I'm going to be a hypocrite today, Jason. I think the flesh is weak. And I think association breeds assimilation. I think when you put yourself in certain environments, you can start to take on the characteristics and attributes of that environment. And so you have to be very careful if you're walking a certain way to try and keep yourself surrounded by like-minded, right? But that ain't always possible in life. So listen, message to everybody consuming this: put your faith in God. Man will let you down.
I agree with that.
Clint Kubiak, you got a question for me regarding messaging that he has, I think, as the new head coach of the Raiders.
Go ahead. No, about Kubiak telling his players to earn their helmet logo? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. And to all you new coaches out there, you have to be careful when you set a culture that it's a culture that's sustainable and realistic. So if you're saying you got to earn a Raider helmet sticker, that might be something that is doable in college. Is that doable in the pros, Jason? What if Brock Bowers got an ankle injury and can't participate in the offseason program, and he comes back second week of training camp? You're not going to get him a helmet sticker? You know, what if one of the free agents you just signed on defense is having their first child? So they rather stay home in the offseason, work out on their own, not be in the building. Like, there are things in professional sports that are outside of your control. So you just have to be careful sometimes with your messaging, because all of it, no matter how pure and morally upright it may be, it's not realistic and it's not sustainable. So that would be my messaging to Vrabel. Be careful, in how you engage with the public with your team, because if something public happens to you like it did, because everybody on the team don't like the coach, because everybody not playing. Everybody not paid at the level they think they should play. So newsflash, there are always disgruntled employees on professional sports teams.
Even the highest paid guys think they should make more. You know what? It took some doing, but we finally got to a point where I can understand the mind of of Shaun King. We finally got there. I appreciate that. Shaun, I want to ask you, and maybe I've already asked you but this previously, but I want to re-ask it again because it's relevant. Tonight's the NFL draft. The NFL draft is a big television production. Fernando Mendoza is choosing to do what's best for his family and his mother in particular and celebrate at home, not go to Pittsburgh and be a part of the whole NFL production. I like what Fernando Mendoza is doing. I respect it. I think it's the proper decision. What do you think?
100%. I don't think there is a wrong decision on draft day. I mean, these kids have worked for 20 plus years of their life to get to this point. However they want to celebrate it or enjoy it or participate in it, as long as it's legal and it's not doing anything in a negative context, let them. Like, how is it wrong if a guy says, I want to be at the draft, even though he knows he's not going to be drafted in the first round? He's, I want to be there. I want to experience it. The same is if a guy says, you know what, at the end of the day, when I didn't have any offers out of high school, these are the people that loved on me. When I went to Cal and nobody knew who I was and I wasn't surrounded with the right culture and level of teammate to be successful, these are the people that loved on me. I go to Indiana and now I got all these people that didn't know who I was, that didn't give a damn about me, pulling and tugging at me. You know what? I'm going to stay with the people that loved on me through this process, and we're going to have a special moment as a family. I don't have a problem with that either.
Yeah, I think it's a great decision. I think it's why a lot of people love the intangibles around.
Doesn't mean he's going to be a better quarterback than if he was at the draft and had a $150,000 chain like we're going to see tonight multiple times all across the state. I'm not saying it makes him any more likely or less likely. I'm just saying it's a personal choice that I'm cool with either way.
See, why would you throw that bait out at me? Why
Because
you're trying to trigger
take
me.
what I said and make it seem like, okay, oh, now he's going to be great. I am terrified that a guy that allegedly has never consumed alcohol, has never had sex, is coming to Vegas. I would rather he tried both and then decided I don't like either. I want to wait. I don't want to consume than to come somewhere like this.
You were on such a high note. You were doing so well. Now, you're saying that this man's lack of using drugs and alcohol.
See, there you go. There you go. Stop adding and taking away from what I say. I say alcohol. I say anything about drugs.
Well,
so you good at
can
that.
I not assume that if
No, don't assume. No, not when I'm on the show. You can assume with Steve Kim and JB and those guys. Don't do that with me. See, you think you slick. You like to add stuff like to what, yeah, cut it out. I said alcohol. I said nothing about drugs.
So
alcohol can lead to drugs, but if you never consume
I was
alcohol,
making an innocent statement that the guy's coming to Las Vegas pure. He doesn't drink. I'm assuming he doesn't use drugs. And you were saying, I didn't know this to be true, but you're saying he's saving himself for marriage. I think those are all great qualities. I wish I had chosen to be like, because, tried them all. Drugs, alcohol, sex, the whole. I wish that I had been smart like Fernando Mendoza. I think that makes him perfect for Vegas. You think it makes him vulnerable?
Yeah, man, Vegas is a monster. I just know I everybody hopes and prays that their children can have the same life arc as a Fernando Mendoza. Go through some low-level adversity, like not being wanted by colleges, fight through it, end up Heisman national champion. Right. But, man, I just told you association breed assimilation. That's why I do like Kirk Cousins coming, because Kirk is outwardly religious. That's a mentor. That's somebody he can be around. But, man, a professional sport in Vegas, it's rough. You You want to be a part of the team. You want to interact with the fellas.
Got that same pressure in college.
No. Bloomington compared to Vegas?
If you think sex and alcohol and drugs aren't available in Bloomington, Indiana.
So you are trying to tell me that Bloomington and Las Vegas are in the same book. Forget sentence or paragraph or chapter.
I would rather be
farther
22 years old in Bloomington, Indiana than 22 years old in Las Vegas. And I'm talking about
Jason,
from a fun perspective. Have you ever been
Whitlock.
to Indiana? Have you ever been to Bloomington, Indiana?
Jason,
the women are incredible.
Jason, I am a noob. Shout out to all the brothers of Kappa Alpha Psi. Alpha chapter is based at IU, okay?
Yeah.
So I am very familiar with Bloomington, Indiana. I can't believe you just fixed your mouth to say Bloomington greater than Vegas for a 22-year-old.
Yes.
That might be the most delusional statement you've ever made.
What are you talking about, Shaun?
I wanted to pick up the phone and call you and like, are you okay? Is everything...
At 22 years old, Bloomington, Indiana is a paradise for young men. A paradise. And I've been to the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity house on Bloomington's campus, Little 500 weekend. If you've never been, I'm talking about when I was a kid. It's like one of the craziest, at that time, fun for a kid. You can have more fun in Bloomington, Indiana as a 22-year-old kid, far more than you can have in Las Vegas. And for a far better price.
I'm going to resort back to a decade ago. Remember this was popular? I can't with you.
What am I missing?
Everything. And stop holding the mic with two hands. I meant to tell you that the other day.
I'm not holding the mic. I'm holding my AG1.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying, come on, stop that.
You just totally distract. Can I get back on track?
Yes.
Let me ask you a football question. All right? Can I move to? I'm done. We're not going to debate Bloomington and Las Vegas. Have you ever been to Bloomington? Have you ever been to Indiana?
What did I just tell you? I played for the Colts. My Alpha chop is at IU.
I'm sorry. Yeah, but it's stupid.
Hold
question.
On. If you do a poll, you say greater city, you can put for anything outside of boredom. Like Vegas is over Bloomington.
Yeah, if you have money and resources.
Oh, you can be dead broke and Vegas is better than Bloomington. Come on, man. Cut it out. Let's move on, because we're not going to agree on this. Yeah. I don't know what you got going on today. I'm not sure what's in that, but send me one, because I want to get to the level that you're on right now. Send me a package of those. John Hadley, send me a package of those. I want to experience what Jason is right now.
AG1.
Because this is a
green.
euphoric level that he's at.
Athletic greens. Anyway, George Pickens, the Cowboys seem to have chosen not to extend him contractually. Mistake? Good decision, bad decision, what?
I'm going to say this, Jason. To all the wannabe George Pickens out there who want to do their own thing, who want to be an individual and not be a part of the team and show up late and say things publicly that are detrimental or against the positive direction the organization is going. All the teams, all the potential employers are taking notes. And when it comes time, no matter what you've done on the field to deserve that big bag, they're going to take into account all of these missteps. So I call it impulse control. So you younger players that are coming up, they're getting in your feelings, they get emotionally hijacked and feel like you could say, do, behave any way you want. Just understand now, there'll come a time where you're going to want the big bag. And everybody's taking notes. And this is a perfect example of that.
Yeah,
They don't trust George Pickens with a big bag. To simplify it for those out there that processor don't work like mine does.
Well, there's very few. There's only one of you, Shaun. There's only, let's be clear there. So Let's be very clear. Yeah, George Pickens they don't trust him. And look, Jerry Jones is a guy that generally falls in love with his best players and overpays them. And so for him to draw the line at George Pickens says, wow, this guy must be an amazing major headache.
And George Pickens' issues go all the way back to Georgia. It's why he was relatively unknown. He stayed suspended at Georgia for foolishness.
Shaun, I got to let you go. I got a couple more things I need to get to. I got a take on Caitlin Clark that I want to get off my chest. And then, hold on, put Shaun back up on the screen. Shaun, you should probably stick, when you get off here, go to YouTube and watch the ending of this show. I'm going to unpack something that's amazing here. So, do you know Nick Khan? Do you know who Nick Khan is?
Who's that?
He replaced Vince McMahon as the face and the top guy at the WWE.
I'm not a wrestling guy, dog. I don't.
Let me give you the other thing, though.
I don't watch wrestling.
Nick Khan was the most powerful sports agent for sports media. He represented everybody major in sport. Cowherd, Stephen A. Smith at one point, Skip Bayless, myself, just anybody at the top of the sports media. He has represented them and done deals. You should pay attention to the ending of this show. I'm going to unpack something that's going to be transformational for college sports. But anyway, Shaun, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, man. Good to see you, big dog. And I'm going to leave with this.
Oh,
Viva, please. Viva Las Vegas.
I got to take a little break here, prepare myself for the end of the show. Let me sip on this green drink, and I'll be right back. I'm going to start with Caitlin Clark, and then I'm going to get to Nick Khan next.
And here's the other one that's missing, Steph Curry.
Yes.
Steph Curry. I mean, Steph Curry's run to the Elite Eight, and remember his third year, his final year at Davidson, they didn't even make the NCAA tournament. But if we're talking about impact, I mean, Steph Curry completely changed college basketball, how we look at basketball and how we look at recruiting. I mean, Steph Curry belongs right there up on that list. He was unbelievable at Davidson.
I was at those tournament games. I'll never forget the first time I ever saw his mom. I was like, this is the greatest college player ever. And I'm not kidding. This was
I'll never forget the first time I saw his mom. That was what you led with?
Pretty much, because I literally got up out of my seat on press row to walk to the other side of the arena to get a closer look. I didn't know women that beautiful could produce athletes that talented. And I was like, Dale Curry, I never respected you before. I respect you now. And, and the guy was an incredible player.
These words are aboriginal regrets and our decisions. We all want to go to heaven with freedom. It's my obligation, no hate, discrimination, raising up your hands for freedom.
The WNBA is trying to kill Caitlin Clark with paper cuts. I talked about this yesterday to some degree about they're killing Caitlin Clark. But they're killing her with paper cuts. 1,000 little cuts is how they're trying to kill Caitlin Clark. And yesterday, they hit her with another paper cut. It was announced that the Indiana Fever would have all 44 of their nationally televised of their games televised on national TV. That's amazing. And we know why that is. Because of Caitlin Clark. And so it's not the Indiana Fever that are getting all 44 of their games on national TV. It's Caitlin Clark who's getting all 44 of her games on national TV. Everybody knows that Caitlin Clark is the reason for the season. That's it. She's the reason. But look at how the Indiana Fever, just a small little paper cut. You may not even notice that it's a cut. But it's obvious to anyone that's listening or watching or has their eyes open. This is the presentation. For those of you that can't see it, the Indiana Fever went on their social media feed on Twitter and put out a deal. All 44 national TV games. And they pictured 3 Indiana Fever players, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and Caitlin Clark. And Kelsey Mitchell is centered. And she's flanked by Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. You would look at this visual presentation and assume Kelsey Mitchell is the most important player on the Indiana Fever. And that's a joke. You would think that Kelsey Mitchell was the reason all 44 national TV games, or was even part of the reason. And I love Kelsey Mitchell as a player. I mean, from Indiana, I'm an Indiana Fever fan because of Caitlin Clark, the whole nine. I think Kelsey Mitchell is a tremendous player. But she has nothing to do with all 44 Indiana Fever games being on national TV. It's Caitlin Clark. And the Indiana Fever are trying to send out the message that Caitlin Clark's just part of this ensemble. She's no bigger than Kelsey Mitchell. She's no bigger than Aaliyah Boston. She's just part of the ensemble. When do you ever see this in men's sport? Do you think the Bulls ever put out some kind of promotion about selling tickets or selling out games or TV ratings without centering and making it crystal clear it's Michael Jordan? You think the Celtics centered Kevin McHale? If, again, there was no Twitter, social media at this time, but in their promotions, do you think they were focusing in on Kevin McHale or Robert Parrish, and Larry Bird was kind of just off to the side, part of the ensemble? These are paper cuts. Little bitty cuts that by themselves don't mean anything. But in connection with all the other paper cuts, they're trying to kill Caitlin Clark. They're trying to send out a message. This is the difference between men and women. There is no standard when it comes to women. There is no merit-based system when it comes to women. There's a group of people with the power that sit in some sort of social media team or HR department. How can we take care of everybody? How can we make everybody feel valued or equally valued? How can we be equitable in everything that we do? That's what the WNBA is doing. They've taken an awesome gift in Caitlin Clark, and rather than try to elevate her and have her tide lift all boats, they're killing her with paper cuts and hoping that you don't notice. And when she's laying on the floor dead and she no longer sells tickets, she's not as popular, the tide doesn't rise, all the boats aren't lifted, it's sexism or it's racism. No, it's the paper cuts. It's the lack of a merit-based standard that is killing the WNBA and killing the growth of the WNBA, because they're trying to say, well, now Kelsey Mitchell feels valued. Look what we did. We pretended that you were just as big as Caitlin Clark. This is insanity. And the problem is people think like she's going to leave the Indiana Fever and go to another team. And the problem with that is the other team will do the exact same thing because the league is led by a group of lesbian Marxist women. It's a league that's not about merit. It's about message. It's about agenda. Killing Caitlin Clark, that's nothing. To achieve their goal, to sacrifice her and to sacrifice the whole league is going to continue its decline. And they're all said, look, we bullied and we leveraged our way into these contracts that we don't deserve, into flying private that we don't deserve. We did it all off the back of Caitlin Clark, but we're not going to celebrate and we're not going to give the public what they want, which is Caitlin Clark and more players like Caitlin Clark. It's a lesbian league. and they will be led by lesbians, and preferably black lesbians. They want to repeat Black Lives Matter, just the WNBA version of Black Lives Matter. They want a league led by black lesbians. It is what it is. Let me move on. I got one more topic I want to get off my chest, and this is the best part of the show. I hope you stuck around for it. I hope you got time for what I'm about to unpack. It's very unusual for me to end the show. With the best topic, but I got to do it because it's NFL Draft Day. Wanted to focus in on that, but let's buckle up here for the ending of the show. On March 6th of this year, Donald Trump hosted a roundtable at the White House to talk about the chaos in college sports and how do we clean up some of the chaos. College sports are underachieving, they're leaderless, there's no direction, there's no set of standards and rules and precedents that have been set. The NCAA has been completely eviscerated and made powerless and toothless and feckless. And so Donald Trump hosted a roundtable at the White House, and he invited Nick Khan and other people connected to, he invited, not Nick Khan, Nick Saban and other people that are connected to college sports and have a passion for college sports. And he invited, I'm sure everybody, but he got the people to come, like Nick Saban, that are comfortable and bold enough, brave enough to stand next to and be photographed with President Trump. And on that same day, on March 6th, Eric Schmidt, a senator out of St. Louis, Missouri, or Missouri, Republican, he and a Democrat out of Washington, a woman named Maria Cantwell, a bipartisan collaboration. Man, woman, Republican, Democrat. Eric Schmidt's a former two-sport college athlete. They released a statement on March 6th about the College Sports Competitiveness Act. It's something they were introducing to the Senate the following week. The legislation provides a new antitrust exemption allowing college football institutions to jointly sell media rights and make it optional for conferences and schools to pool their media rights together, allowing for a significant increase of revenue into college sports. At the end of the release, Eric Schmidt and Maria Cantwell pointed out that college football generates twice the national viewership of the National Basketball Association, 3.7 billion viewer hours versus the NBA's 2.0 billion viewers. And college football generates roughly half the media rights revenue, $3.8 billion for college football and $6.8 billion for the NBA. So Eric Schmidt and Maria Cantwell, College Sports Competitiveness Act, Donald Trump on the same day hosting a roundtable discussion with decision makers and people with expertise and experience with college football and just college sports. They're meeting at the White House. They're doing this all in conjunction on March 6th, and they're putting attention and focus on, like, hey, there's a problem in college sports. Fans are dissatisfied. There's chaos. The players aren't being served. Yes, they're making more money, but this transfer portal and name, image, and likeness, all of it's out of control. It's the wild, wild west. We got to wrap our arms around it because it's going to lead to the collapse of Olympic sports. And all the sports that are not college football or men's college basketball are in jeopardy financially. This system is going to collapse on itself. It's not maximizing its revenue stream, and it's not organizing or managing all of its sports in a way that would maximize revenue, maximize popularity. It's a sleeping giant that is falling and collapsing on itself. So that's on March 6th. And everybody for the past year, 2, 3, 4 have been saying like, hey man, the NCAA is feckless and, powerless, and college sports are out of control. And you know what? We need a czar of college football. We need a czar of the NCAA. We need a leadership. We need a new vision for college sports. Basically, what they're saying is they need a silver bullet. They have a complex problem, and they need a simple solution to a complex problem. And I think we may have discovered it. I think that someone has revealed themselves as the Lone Ranger, as the person who can show up in the wild, wild west and bring law and order and justice and truth in the American way. And his name is Nick Khan. He's the silver bullet. Why do I say this? Obviously, I know Nick Khan. If you've listened to this show, you know that Nick Khan used to represent me and used to be my agent. Nick Khan used to represent everybody of any significance in sports media. Nick, this is what my connection was for several years, 3 years, 4 years, maybe. I can't remember how long, but Nick Khan was my agent. And Nick Khan and I eventually fell out, parted ways, because I became dissatisfied that Nick Khan represented too many people in sports media, and I thought it would create a conflict of interest. And like, hey, you can't serve Jason Whitlock's interest while also serving Colin Cowherd, Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, this for everybody that he was connected to. And so I parted ways with Nick Khan, and for a time, I was disappointed, angry with Nick Khan. And so I'm saying that and giving you that foundation so that you understand what I'm about to say isn't said because I have any interest in kissing Nick Khan's rear end. I'm who I am. I'll beef with anybody. And I'm not looking for beef, but if I'm disappointed or think my interests aren't being represented or reach the conclusion that this doesn't work for me, I'm just really transparent and I step away from people. And so this isn't fear of Nick Khan. This isn't kissing Nick Khan's butt because I want something from him. This is just the truth. And so eventually, after Nick Khan and I fell out, eventually I calmed down and said, Nick Khan's not the right agent for me. But what Nick Khan is, unquestionably, and I've met any and everybody in the sports industry world. Any and everybody. Nick Khan's the smartest person I've met in the sports world. Nick Khan has a vision and a strategic mind in the sports world that I haven't seen anybody match. And he's so smart, so visionary, that once I realized, like, nah, this is just business. It's not personal. It's like, I just realized, like, hey, man, Nick Khan's way too smart for me to be detached from him and to not keep the relationship and the relationship going and the line of communication going. And so I've done that over the years because I have that much respect for his intellect, for his strategic mind, for his deal making. Nick Khan is like what Donald Trump, and I'm not trying to diminish President Trump, but he's like what Donald Trump sells himself as. The art of the deal, the ultimate deal maker. Nick Khan is actually that guy. He is the deal maker. And if Nick Khan had a father that was a multi-millionaire and or billionaire who could give Nick Khan, hey, here's $200 million to start your business or whatever. If Nick Khan had started on third base, he would be at Trump's level. He would be someone like, oh, he could be president. But he didn't start on third base. He started at home plate. And he drew a walk and walked himself onto first base. And then he stole second base. And then a sacrifice fly got him to third base. And then he stole home plate. He's that type of smart and brilliant. And just keep in mind, what I'm about to say, I haven't talked to Nick Khan today. Nick Khan didn't tell me this. This is just me connecting the dots of like, hey, what's going on here? Because Nick Khan was in D.C., I believe, yesterday or earlier this week, and he was, because he's got long connections in the boxing world and in the fight game, and he's in D.C. to talk about I think it's called the Muhammad Ali, some kind of Muhammad Ali Act. I had it written down here. Some sort of revival, boxing revival act. He's there to talk about boxing in front of Congress. I'm like, oh, the Muhammad Ali Revival Act or whatever. That's interesting that Nick Khan's in town for that. It makes sense. But the clip and what he said that was actually most interesting while he was talking to Congress had to do with college sports. And I was like, wow, Nick Khan talking about college sports in a very provocative and interesting way and expressing a vision for college sports in a very interesting way. And then I saw that Eric Schmidt, the senator from Missouri, tweeted out Nick Khan's comments about college sports. Not what he said about boxing, but what Nick Khan said about college sports. Let's play the clip.
So if you bifurcate the sports professionally and collegiately, as everyone in this room knows, college football is the number 2 most popular sport in the United States, yet it generates the 5th most amount of media rights dollars. That's because it's a bifurcated system. The product's great. I used to say boxing is the most difficult of all the businesses because of the chaos. Now I say boxing and college sports. If college sports is not cleaned up, we're going to see the result of it being what many of you already know. Programs will eliminate their football teams, which thereby affects Title IX, which thereby eliminates women's sports, which thereby affects the less revenue-generating Olympic sports. And instead of only boxing having had one Olympic gold medalist male gold medalist since 1996, you will have many, if not all, Olympic sports facing the same consequence. So yes, that act needs to be passed. From my point of view, having had the privilege in my prior career of representing the Southeastern Conference and many other entities like that, it needs to be passed for the health of the athlete and the sports.
He's there to talk about boxing, but the most powerful, fascinating thing he said was about the College Sports Competitiveness Act. This is not an accident. It's not a coincidence. It's not, oh, this is just lucky timing. Nick Khan just happens to be in town talking about boxing, and we'll get him to talk about college sports. No, not an accident here. And it's not an accident that he's mimicking or repeating the talking point that Eric Schmidt pointed out in March along with Donald Trump, pointing out that like if you're really listening to what he said there, I'll just dumb it down or get to the point of he's saying that college football should be the primary competitor to the NFL. That because of the lack of leadership within college sports, they're passing up an opportunity for college football to compete with the NFL in terms of relevance, importance, and generating money. College football. And what he's really saying is, if we get college football straightened out, I can make the NCAA and all of college sports more powerful, more revenue generating than the NFL. What Nick Khan is saying is, if I'm the leader, I can usurp the NFL. I will surpass Roger Goodell in the NFL. College sports are actually, if run properly, the most powerful thing in all of sports, not the NFL. He just described an opportunity for every college president and anybody involved with college sports that basically, I'm going to put words in his mouth. He's basically saying like, hey guys, if you make me the head of the NCAA and we remake the NCAA in my vision, college sports will return to a level of greatness that it should and does belong. Everyone will make more money. And you women out there, you feminists out there that are concerned about financing the Olympic sports that women play and dominate and care about, things will be much better for you as well. He just expressed a holistic vision for the entire NCAA. He just expressed a vision that would make him and the NCAA, him the most powerful person in sports, the NCAA the most powerful institution in sports. And if you just give me that, and I get to partner with Nick Saban and a few other visionary people that have the experience within the NCAA, we can fix college football, we can fix the Olympic sports, we can make things better for young boys and young girls. Everybody can win. Nick Khan's the silver bullet that college sports has been looking for. And I have to give Donald Trump and Eric Schmidt credit for they found the silver bullet. Let me just make it so clear that even a baby can understand. Day one, Nick Khan shows up, czar of the NCAA, czar of college football. He becomes the best commissioner in all of sports. Roger Goodell can't touch Nick Khan. Roger Goodell is a puppet with very little vision, in control of the NFL, doesn't have the balls to do what Nick Khan has the balls for. And in terms of competition, the only guy that I would say like is on the same level as Nick in terms of just balls and a bold vision is Dana White. But Dana White, and I don't mean this to insult Dana White. I think Dana White would probably agree with me. Dana White doesn't have Nick Khan's intellect. He's not on the same level as Nick Khan intellectually. Dana White is someone from the Boston area, a typical South Boston character, a Southie. Like in real life, Whitey Bulger, in real life, ran Dana White out of Boston. Dana White, for lack of a better description, and I don't mean this in a critical way, but I'll go with a Godfather-like analogy. Dana White is Sonny Corleone. And you can't have a mafia without Sonny Corleone. You can't do anything without someone that's muscle, without someone with a big pair and will walk into a room and say, I got the biggest balls in this room, drop his pants and say, show me something bigger. And no one will. And that's why the UFC has been very effective and very successful. But there's a downside to the Sonny Corleone character. Doesn't control himself all the time. Might get caught on camera taking a swing at his wife. Might say something at a press conference that like, I should have held your tongue on that. You remember in The Godfather when Don Corleone pulled Sonny to the side? It was like, hey man, don't you ever talk about the family's business out in front of people that ain't family? What are you doing? Don Corleone loved Sonny Corleone, knew how necessary Sonny Corleone was, but knew like, he can be a little bit sloppy. That's Dana White. Necessary, but sloppy. What Nick Khan is Michael Corleone. Michael Corleone's got as big a pair of balls as anybody that's ever walked in movie history. Just as dangerous as Sonny, but a tiny bit more strategic and visionary. Because Michael Corleone, what they were saying to you in The Godfather is that Michael Corleone was a combination of Sonny, Don Corleone's oldest son, and Tom Hagen, the consigliere, the son, the Irish kid that they adopted off the streets and was an adopted son of Don Corleone. And he was the visionary, the strategic mind. And Michael was a combination of Sonny and Tom Hagen. He got everything that Don Corleone was trying to teach and trying to pass on to his sons. He passed the muscle on to Sonny, and he passed the vision on to Tom Hagen. And Michael Corleone, shockingly, surprisingly, he got both, the best of both worlds. That's what I'm saying about Nick Khan. Big pair, bold vision, fearless, visionary. He's if I was to make a sports analogy, it's like he's Pete Rozelle with muscles that like goes to the gym. Pete Rozelle, the legendary visionary of the NFL. And so let me just give you a couple of more pieces of insight of why I feel like Donald Trump, Nick Saban, Eric Schmidt, they have figured out exactly the type of leadership that college sports needs, and that college sports could surpass the NFL, dwarf the NFL. It wouldn't be close, and it wouldn't take long. Here's the other thing that Nick Khan has that Rob Manfred, Adam Silver, Roger Goodell, none of these other commissioners have. Nick Khan has a personal relationship with virtually everybody that matters in the sports media world. The opinion people that go out and set the agenda and give you the right opinions on sports, or the opinions on sports. He's represented Skip Bayless, Colin Cowherd, Stephen A. Me, anybody that matters. Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee, I don't think Nick's ever repped him as an agent, but he makes money, McAfee does, with the WWE and Nick Khan. Nick Khan's relationship, and again, you're talking to someone that like fell out with Nick Khan, but respects him immensely. And so Nick Khan's relationship with the sports media people that matter, and even people he didn't represent, everybody respects him. Everybody understands his intellect, his vision. He would have the sports media world based on personal relationships, based on making money and giving good advice to everybody that matters in the sports media. He would have the ideal relationship from a commissioner's chair to personally influence the media and explain his vision and get them to sell his vision. So that's one. Then when you go to the executives, the shot callers in sports media, the people from Bob Iger to Jimmy Pitaro, who runs ESPN now, to Eric Shanks that runs Fox Sports, to John Skipper that used to run ESPN, to just any and everybody. I'm not saying they all liked Nick Khan. Some of them don't. But they respect Nick Khan. No one has any questions about Nick Khan's vision, intellect, fearlessness, balls, ability to cut deals, abilities to see opportunities and execute on those opportunities. The Lone Ranger rides again. College sports has an incredible opportunity to unleash their silver bullet and fix all of their problems and become the most powerful entity in sports because of Nick Khan. Hats off to Trump, Schmidt, Nick Khan, everybody involved. I hope that it happens. It would be amazing. That's it. That's all for us today. We'll see you tomorrow.